A new discovery inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. Behind these gigantic chevrons above the main entrance, for the first time.
For over 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood like a silent sentinel, guarding its secrets, defying time, and challenging everything we know about the ancient civilization. But now, something has changed. In 2025, cutting-edge technology has breached the pyramid's ancient defenses, revealing a discovery so shocking it's forcing experts to question history itself. A hidden passage, a vast void, strange structures buried deep beneath the plateau. What were they hiding? And could this be the key to uncovering the true purpose of the most mysterious monument on Earth? Stay tuned, because what they've just found inside the Great Pyramid will leave you speechless. In my view, this is the most significant archaeological discovery of the 21st century. Radar scans have revealed something unimaginably ancient, buried deep within the stone. Could this corridor be shielding or relieving pressure from something even more extraordinary? What started as a routine scan has turned into a find that might change everything we thought we knew about human history, about lost civilizations, and about the true purpose of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The sealed door finally opened. On the morning of March 2nd, 2023, at exactly 10:33 a.m. Cairo time, the world of archaeology changed forever, though most people didn't realize it at that moment. In a quiet, almost understated announcement, the International Scan Pyramids team released a peer-reviewed paper in Nature Communications. At first glance, it seemed like a technical achievement, a brilliant example of physics and non-invasive imaging. But hidden within that data was a discovery that shattered the edges of a mystery as old as human civilization itself. The shockwaves rippled far and wide. Even Graham Hancock hinted online that if this was true, it meant we'd all been misled about the past. And what they found was truly astonishing. Using muon tomography, a technique that tracks cosmic ray particles as they pass through stone, the team mapped out a secret void, a corridor about 30 feet long and 7 feet high, hidden right behind the Great Pyramid's northern face. This wasn't some crack or natural cavity. This was a passage, geometrically precise, deliberately concealed behind the chevron blocks that mark the pyramid's entrance. A corridor completely unknown to thousands of years of Egyptian records. With cautious approval from Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, the team prepared to explore further. An endoscopic camera was carefully guided through a tiny crevice, no wider than a few millimeters, slipping silently past stone untouched by human eyes since the time of the pharaohs. The camera entered a space that felt both surreal and untouched. There it was, a gabled limestone ceiling rising high above walls that showed no cracks, no crumbling. The craftsmanship was flawless, clearly the work of skilled hands with a purpose, not the result of chance. A fine layer of dust, undisturbed for thousands of years, coated the stone floor, like the ash of a long-lost world. But what was even more startling than what the team saw was what they didn't. No artifacts, no hieroglyphs, no burial traces, no offerings, nothing. Just perfect stillness and a sense of deliberate, immaculate design, as if the builders had completed this corridor, turned away, and sealed it off from within. Why? What was its purpose? Why go to such lengths to hide it behind the chevrons, a location meant to be imposing to the eye, yet secretly concealing this hidden space? It was the purity of the void that left experts uneasy. Its design hinted at intentional concealment, not a forgotten passage. It felt less like an ancient relic and more like a mechanism, a part of a larger, still-hidden architecture waiting to be understood. This wasn't just a hidden chamber. It felt like an invitation, or perhaps a warning. Deeper than the big void, the muon detectors, having pierced the pyramid's ancient defenses, didn't stop at revealing just one hidden corridor. As more data flowed in, scientists turned their focus to something even more astonishing, a far larger mystery. They revisited the so-called Big Void, that massive hidden space above the Grand Gallery. It had been detected years earlier, but no one had been able to explore it. Now, something far more unsettling was coming to light. At first, engineers believed the Big Void was simply a construction gap, maybe a weight relief chamber left by the ancient builders. But the latest muon scans suggested otherwise. They revealed a disturbing symmetry. The newly discovered corridor behind the north face seemed to point straight at the floor of the Big Void. This wasn't a coincidence. The angle, The path, the depth of the corridor, when projected forward, aligned exactly with the center of this huge hidden cavity. Architectural models sent chills down the spine. If this northern corridor extended further, or if it connected through a shaft still buried in stone, it could lead directly into the big void itself. And that meant one thing. This corridor might be the first deliberate entrance to the pyramid's largest unexplored space since a D-820, when Al-Mamun's men hacked their way through the pyramid's side in a rough search for treasure and accidentally broke into the Grand Gallery. But this wasn't random destruction. This was precise geometry, suggesting knowledge far beyond what traditional Egyptology believes the builders of 2500 BC possessed. And here lay the real reason even the most seasoned scientists felt a shiver of unease. Because if the north face corridor seemed to lead directly toward the big void, and if the big void wasn't just a structural accident but a deliberately engineered cavity, what else could be hidden in the layers above or below? Why would the ancient builders go to such extraordinary lengths to conceal the entrance to the pyramid's largest and most mysterious internal space? Speculation is now running wild. In global think tanks, archaeological circles, and beyond, some believe this could point to a hidden burial chamber, untouched for millennia. Others suggest something even more extraordinary, that the chamber wasn't meant for a king at all, but to harness energy. This idea draws from alternative theories, that the Great Pyramid was never intended as a tomb, but as a machine, a generator, a transmitter, or perhaps something even older. A signal, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Whatever the truth, it's clear the pyramid isn't done revealing its secrets. The corridors seem to speak in fragments, as if the monument itself is testing us, seeing how far we're willing to go to uncover truths buried not just in stone, but in human memory. So, the cameras pause, the scanners continue their patient work, and the world watches, waiting for the next door to open. The radar echo no one saw coming. While the world's attention was fixed on the newly found corridor and the haunting mystery of the big void, something even more astonishing was quietly emerging, beneath the very ground where the pyramid stands. In early 2025, a team of geophysicists from Italy and Scotland, working together as part of a major international deep imaging project, made a discovery that could shake our understanding of history to its core. They began deploying synthetic aperture radar (SR) across the Giza Plateau. Unlike muon tomography, which helps map the interior of solid structures, SAR can penetrate much deeper, cutting through layers of bedrock and detecting echoes from hidden features miles beneath the Earth's surface. At first, these scans were simply part of a routine geological survey. The goal was to better understand seismic risks and the ancient aquifer systems beneath Giza. But by March 2025, the team's findings were so astonishing that their report briefly vanished from several academic servers, only to reappear later, redacted and buried under dense, jargon-filled summaries. Luckily, investigative journalists spotted it before it could be hidden away completely. What the scientists discovered defied explanation. At depths more than a kilometer beneath the plateau's bedrock, far below anything traditionally linked to ancient Egypt, these SAR scans revealed a vast, complex network. Pillars, spiral ramps, and multi-level chambers. These weren't natural caves or the random remnants of sinkholes. The structures showed clear signs of intelligent design, planned architecture, what one researcher described as a lost underground city. But the most chilling discovery was this: 8 massive vertical columns rising from the deepest radar readings, each topped with lens-shaped cavities that looked strikingly like domes or support vaults. These weren't scattered randomly. They were aligned with eerie precision directly beneath the 2 largest pyramids, Khufu and Khafre, as if serving a hidden purpose. Load-bearing anchors for the monuments above. The implications were staggering. If true, the pyramids weren't the beginning. They were merely the visible crowns of a much older subterranean structure. A vast superstructure that had remained hidden, not just beneath sand, but beneath time itself. Even more baffling was the sheer depth of these discoveries. The structures lay far below the ancient Nile's water table, deeper than any known human excavation from the Pharaonic era or even pre-dynastic times. Achieving such construction would have required advanced geological knowledge, along with tools and techniques far beyond what was possible in the Bronze Age. And if these corridors, ramps, and chambers weren't natural formations, then someone or something must have built them. 38,000 BC, the chronology shockwave. The question of when shook the foundations of archaeology. Enter Professor Corrado Malanga, lead author of the radar study and a world-renowned geophysicist with decades of experience analyzing signal decay through ancient volcanic rock. When Malanga's team examined the ceramic resistivity patterns and signal loss in the SR data, they saw something that shouldn't have been there: tool marks. Yes, tool marks in solid basalt, shaped and patterned in ways that pointed to mechanical tools, cuts, grooves, and striations that were no work of nature. This wasn't erosion, it was engineering. And when they modeled the material degradation, comparing it with known rates of basalt weathering, they reached a stunning conclusion. The oldest marks beneath the Giza Plateau appeared to date back at least 38,000 years, some 36,000 years before Pharaoh Khufu's time, long before dynastic Egypt even existed. That placed the construction deep into the Upper Paleolithic, an era when humanity was supposedly still made up of hunter-gatherers, without farming, writing, or even the wheel. The implications were earth-shattering for mainstream Egyptology. But Malanga didn't stop there. He connected these findings to salt crusts and scour marks found along the Great Pyramid's base, patterns long dismissed as evidence of Nile flooding. According to his team, these were actually traces of a massive flood, not from the Nile, but from an ocean-scale event. A flood likely triggered by an asteroid impact around 12,000 years ago, the same cataclysm associated with the Younger Dryas, the sudden end of the last ice age. This flood, Malanga argued, didn't just wet the pyramid's base. It submerged the entire plateau, burying the ancient structures beneath layers of silt and sediment. Later, civilizations, unaware of what lay below, built atop the ruins of something far older. What if the Great Pyramid wasn't originally Egyptian at all? What if Khufu had simply repurposed a relic left behind by a vanished civilization, a monument whose true purpose he could only guess at, but whose power he sensed? And what if everything we think of as the history of human achievement is really just the second act of a much older story, a story of a world swept away by disaster? For now, the answers remain buried, in stone, in shadow, in silence. But the radar echoes are growing louder. The past is beginning to speak. Water resonance and the machine hypothesis. The revelations didn't end with the radar echoes or the shocking timeline. In fact, those discoveries breathed new life into a theory that had long been dismissed as fringe science. The idea that the Great Pyramid was never meant to be a tomb or a monument, but a machine. For decades, engineers and alternative researchers like Christopher Dunn, John Cadman, and others have suggested bold new interpretations of the pyramid's true purpose. They propose that it could have been a hydraulic resonance generator or even a microwave energy transducer, a structure whose geometry and materials were designed for advanced functions, not funerary rituals. Now, with the discovery of the sealed North Face corridor and its possible connection to the Big Void, these once-forgotten ideas were getting a second chance, this time backed by hard data. And as the exploration pushed deeper toward the pyramid's hidden spaces, things only grew stranger. According to these renewed theories, if the North Face corridor does indeed lead down into a pressure-sealed chamber, it could represent a missing piece of the puzzle, a hydraulic feed pipe. In this model, water would have been pumped into the chamber, pressurized, and forced through narrow shafts, setting off powerful resonant vibrations within the pyramid's granite-filled core. And here's where it gets truly astonishing. The granite used in the pyramid, especially the kind quarried from Aswan, is rich in quartz crystals. Quartz is famous for its piezoelectric properties. When it's subjected to mechanical stress, it produces an electrical charge. If water was cycled through chambers beneath the pyramid, the resulting vibrations could have caused the quartz-rich granite, especially in the so-called King's Chamber, to oscillate, generating electromagnetic energy. The pyramid's internal layout, with its precise ratios and perfect alignment to the cardinal directions, may have functioned like a giant resonator, fine-tuned to amplify these effects. And that big void? It might not be an empty, meaningless cavity at all. Positioned directly above the Grand Gallery and aligned with the apex, it could have acted as a ventilation shaft, or perhaps something even more astonishing. A sealed pressure chamber, the beating heart of the system granite-lined passages, acting as piezoelectric amplifiers, the big void, possibly an exhaust or emitter for resonant energy. The subterranean pillars, aquifer shafts and stabilizers, Could it be that the Great Pyramid was once alive? Not in a spiritual sense, but as a machine, built during the Ice Age, later misunderstood by the dynastic Egyptians, who inherited only its outer shell? The implications were staggering, but not everyone was convinced. Within days of the radar findings and the revival of the machine theory, the backlash came, swift, sharp, and unrelenting. None other than Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's most famous Egyptologist and former head of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, spoke out against the claims. This idea, he told reporters, is completely wrong. He argued that today's ground-penetrating radar simply can't image rock at such depths with meaningful clarity, and that what the researchers thought they saw were just artifacts of misinterpreted data. As for the salt-scouring patterns at the base of the pyramid, the evidence Professor Malanga pointed to in support of his flood theory, Hawass dismissed it as nothing more than natural salt efflorescence, a harmless residue left behind by groundwater over time. Leaching through the limestone blocks, the salt deposits, they argued, were simply the result of moisture and temperature shifts over thousands of years. Dr. Zahi Hawass wasn't alone in his skepticism. Professor Lawrence Connors, a leading radar archaeologist from the University of Denver, added his voice to the debate. Connors cautioned that radar-detected voids can often be illusions, the result of simple density contrasts or natural layering within the rock, not necessarily signs of vast hidden chambers. No one, he stressed, should be claiming the discovery of a lost city or ancient power plant based on signal returns that haven't been verified. Until we can drill, excavate, or confirm these findings using multiple technologies, it's pure speculation, not science. And that highlighted the biggest challenge of all, permission. Despite all the excitement and buzz, Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities has yet to grant a single permit for drilling, coring, or even limited test boring near the Big Void or beneath the Giza Plateau. The radar data, while intriguing, remains just that, unconfirmed. Malanga's findings haven't yet passed full peer review, and his claims of Ice Age engineering continue to meet stiff resistance from the academic mainstream. Yet history has a long memory and an even longer silence. And as the experts push back, public fascination only grows. Because for every skeptic's dismissal, another question rises. What if they're wrong? What if something truly ancient still lies sealed beneath the stone? Something older than our cities, older than our myths. The struggle to uncover the Great Pyramid's true story has only just begun. Two models, one enigma. As debate over the pyramid's true nature intensified, the world watched a scientific standoff unfold. This wasn't about faith versus science. It was about two radically different interpretations of the same data. On one side stood the established view, supported by Egyptologists, architects, and archaeologists. According to this school of thought, the newly discovered North Face corridor was nothing mysterious at all, just a stress relief space, an intentional void designed to reduce pressure on the pyramid's internal structure, a kind of... The debate over the Great Pyramid's true purpose has reached a boiling point. One camp sees the newly discovered corridors and voids as nothing more than clever engineering, stress relief spaces meant to protect the structure. To them, the big void is just an empty pocket left to lighten the weight above the grand gallery. No hidden chambers, no ancient power plant, but others. Engineers, physicists, and independent thinkers see something very different. The precise geometry, sealed corridors, and mysterious voids point, they argue, to a machine, not a tomb. A vast system of shafts, chambers, and granite-lined halls designed to harness energy, vibrate, or resonate. Beneath it all, radar hints at deep pillars, ramps, and dome-like cavities, perhaps the remains of an ancient technology, older than history itself. The battle is no longer about wild ideas versus science. It's about two ways of reading the same data. And both sides agree on one thing. The Great Pyramid still holds untouched spaces, sealed off for thousands of years. Now the world waits for a decision. Will Egypt allow new drilling, new cameras, new eyes inside? If they do, what's uncovered might not just change archaeology. It could change everything we thought we knew about our past. Are we on the edge of rewriting history or chasing shadows? Only time will tell.